Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes recap for Z Nation Season 3. Technically, Episode 3, because we had a two-parter to open the season with, is what IMDb's telling me. Really annoyed with that. Officially, Episode 3. I'm calling it Episode 2. And we'll continue fighting that trend throughout the season, I guess. This one's called A New Mission. We're back on track, you guys. We're back on track. We're back. This is what I'm talking about. This is my Z Nation right here, all up in this business. I gotta, you guys, if you saw the previous episode recap, you know I was somewhat disappointed in the season opener. I was all pumped up for 2 hours of Z Nation. I was excited to do the flashback and find out what happened in the past and all that jazz. And I kind of got let down a little bit by that. It was not what I was hoping for, but what are you going to do? You don't always get what you want. However, I still held out hope. I was like, listen, guys, it's not diminished. I haven't stopped looking forward to the main season's episodes, and we got it back. We are back, baby, with regular, real, awesome Z Nation. Where to even start? I guess we'll start at the beginning, which is the end of the previous season. Everybody blew up. Or it seemed, not blew up, but the sub blew up. Murphy was going off doing his own thing. The gang got surrounded by Chinese military people. Citizen Z looked like he was toast, but like a really cold version of toast. It was bad peril, and like in a lot of different kind of ways. Like season 1 had that great cliffhanger where it's just like, we're gonna get nuked. What happens now? Everybody gets nuked. Here, everybody got their own like specific tailor-made cliffhanger, and this worked. This was so beautiful. To start off with, I guess we'll start off with the Chinese soldiers, who I thought were brilliantly handled. That whole group, as a military unit, with the female doctor whose name escapes me at the moment. I'm sorry, but she's the Chinese lady who is apparently going to be joining the team as a regular member. They take the Z Nation guys hostage, the regular crew. They're pretty good at dealing with the Z's, right? Like they're trained, they're military, they've got good equipment, they're taking them out. They're not super efficient. Doc points out, like, have you guys heard of a kill shot? Like, you don't have to waste, 1,000 rounds in these zombies, which is a little bit hypocritical, guys. Doc, we've seen you. You haven't always been 100% efficient with your ammo, which is fine because it's a fun zombie show. But they take them out with some cool tech. You see the little laser scanner that you've probably seen in the previews, where it scans the zombies' faces and shoots nails into their heads, which was really awesome. And it turns out, are on a mission for what everybody in this world is on a mission for. They're looking to find the Murphy. Speaking of which, we find the Murphy, where we left off. He's escaped the sub. It's blowing up. He's got his Dr. Murch and the general right next to him. And, they're driving along in their boat. They get to shore. They're doing fine. And we also find 10K. And 10K says to Murphy, listen, I'm not going with you. I don't want anything to do with you. And then he immediately gets in the back of Murphy's golf cart. And there was a part of me that thought, okay, well, that's lame. Like, that's just bad characterization. Clearly, why would you have him say that line and then immediately do the opposite of what he said? This is the best and the worst. Oh, this is why I love this show. This is why I love it, because 10K got turned into a Murphy blend thing. He didn't get bit on the face because, Nat Zhang is beautiful and perfect angel. But the reveal there, oh man, it's so tough. It's so tough because he's still alive, right? He's still 10K-ish. He can still shoot zombies from a long way away, but that moment when Murphy says to him, hey, you stop counting. That just, like, like stab me in the gut with a rusty knife. That is brutal. Because we saw it through the whole previous season, right? Murphy and 10K do not get along. Murphy despises 10K. 10K killed off Cassandra. 10K was in love with Cassandra. He thought that she was too far gone and she was too crazy, and he killed her off. And Murphy's like, hey, no, these blends are still people. They're just as good, if not better than humans. In fact, his position now is very much clearly the blends are better than people. And so they've had this beef going on the whole time. Everybody loves 10K. I love 10K. 10K is a great character. And this is worse than killing him off. I mean, not debatably, but I don't see how he comes back from this. I don't know how you get 10K back. I think we've lost the 10K we know and love, and we've got the weird Murphy version of 10K now. And that's just it breaks my heart, don't get me wrong, but it's amazing storytelling. When a show can make me care that much and twist the knife that hard with something where it's not like, no, we didn't kill him off. Listen, he's still here, just like Mac in the previous season, but you know what's going to happen. At the very best, he's in the thrall of Murphy forever. And at worst, he deteriorates like Cassandra did over time, and we get 10K Cassandra style stuff. Animal 10K. And that's just rough. That's real rough. In addition to that, in this episode, we got introduced to some really cool new ideas. Somebody clearly was watching Bone Tomahawk when they were writing this show, because we get an attack of these, not zombies exactly. They're people whose brains have just snapped from the chaos of, being in the zombie apocalypse, which I love. They look kind of like zombies still, but they're capable of planning to a certain degree. They can hide. They're not just like shambling around. I'm coming after you. They can use weapons. They use that bone thing that you see the Indians use in Bone Tomahawk. It's really, really brutal. We see several other groups too. They introduce, just tangentially, which I assume they show these people because they're going to come back. You have a group of roller derby type women. There's 3 of them. They've got their pink helmets. They're going in after some stuff. You've got Duck Dynasty looking guys, not literally the guys from Duck Dynasty, although that would be a great get. I'd love to see that. Ghillie suits and beards. And I think there were at least one other, if not 2 other distinct groups of survivors, but crazy survivors, that we got to see. And they're all kind of converging on the supply drop that the Chinese lady had called in from her. What we find out now is sort of the last remnants of the Chinese military. They talk about how that she has an aircraft carrier out in the bay, but they basically used every bit of fuel that was left in China to fuel it up so they could get over there. And that was a great moment as she's explaining how they got over there, because she's scanned all of the main crew for blood to find out, if there's any antibodies for the zombie virus. And they are like, well, what were you expecting to find? And she says, you guys have survived for a long time. You've done incredible things. How have you managed to make it this far? Kind of hanging a lampshade on the show's premise a little bit, but also with Z Nation, I can't actually rule out the possibility that they're going to come back to this, right? That they're going to say, no, there was something special about the group beyond the fact that they were just the group, that there was some kind of weird supernatural thing going on, or I don't know. I don't know exactly how they're going to explain it, or if they're going to explain it. Maybe it's just a cool little, hey, look at this lampshade thing. But it does, I think, work either way in the way that they put it in the scene. And then, her characterization as well of, they go into the warehouse, they're looking for the supply drop, they meet up with the other sort of crazy survivors. Her soldiers try to throw the laser grenade at the survivors, and the survivors throw them back. And her men, all of them except one, get shot with the projectiles. And I loved that we got a character here who has not just become numb to the death, right? Like, she clearly hasn't seen a ton of this. I mean, she's familiar with, obviously, with the zombie virus and with everything that's going on. I mean, she's seen it all happen in China, but for her, seeing her men die, it's like the horror on her face. She does, one of them does survive the laser thing long enough to get eaten by another zombie, which, just a double whammy for her. I thought it was a great way to introduce her character as someone who is, especially because we start off with her as sort of a aggressor, right? Like, she's holding our heroes hostage, the guys that we know, and you don't like that much as a viewer. You want to, all right, let them go. And to sort of get inside her head, I thought was a brilliant tactic writing wise to show, like, hey, this is a real human being. And a lot more for her than for Vasquez. I really liked her introduction to the group. I thought last season Vasquez just shows up. They're like, well, Mac died. All right, you're in. And this felt a lot more natural and organic and just really fit in a storytelling way that I loved. And then, of course, we get to the end. Murphy pulls up in the Jeep that we find out that he stole, and he basically makes an ultimatum. He says, listen, we've done your mission. It's my mission now, and the mission is Blends. And we get this really interesting diverging path where previously in the first two seasons, it was Murphy and the gang going on the mission. The mission was Operation Bite Mark or whatever. I forget what the official title of the whole thing was, but get Murphy to the CDC somehow, make a cure. And now Murphy's decided once and for all, I'm going on my own mission. I'm doing my own thing. And he lays down the law to Roberta. He says, listen, you can come with me or not, but we're going. We're done with this. I've got 10K. He kind of sneaks around it a little bit. They ask him if he's alive, and he just shakes his head. And then, of course, later on, we find out that he's got 10K in a sniper's nest somewhere, picking off zombies that are coming close. And I'm still shook off about that. But he drives off. He says, okay, I'm doing my own thing. He doesn't attack Roberta. He still has enough respect for those people to let them be, to let them go their own way. But if they're not with him, he's not going to mess around with them. And so Roberta recruits the Chinese lady, and now she has Hector and Addie, who has a great baseball bat. And that moment when Addie was about to get, I could see it mirrored. We saw it last season with Mac when he got killed, and they set that big zombie up, right? Like, it wasn't just some random zombie. Like, they showed him turning into a zombie, and so you knew that something big was going to happen. And I was like, no, not Addie. Please don't kill Addie. They didn't kill Addie. She's still alive. She's got the awesome Z-Whacker that the Chinese guys upgraded for her in the time between the end of the last season and this season somehow. Don't question it too much. It's fine. It's fun. She's still around, and the two groups diverge. Murphy going off to do his thing, and the rest of the main crew sticking around to do their thing. I really hope that they stick with that, because season 2 felt like it was going to go in that direction. Murphy was like, hey, screw it, I'm going to go off and be my own guy. And then he kind of got sucked back in. I'm not saying he can't interact with them at all, but I'm hoping that they keep playing this out. They keep giving us more of this conflict, whereas Murphy now has a different agenda completely, and he's fully willing to act on that different agenda than Roberta does and her group. The other obvious major plot thread here was Citizen Z, who did not die. That was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to be dead in the end of last season. I mean, he was in a bad place, but we did see the person coming out of the snow to get him, so I expected he would live. I didn't expect that it would go quite the way that it ended up going. I thought that the Eskimo, Inuit probably is the better term, I'm sorry. The Inuit girl that rescued him was a real breath of fresh air to Z Nation. not that it was a whole breath of stale air, but this is the kind of thing I come to this show for. She was just the right mixture of quirky and funny and sort of asocial, but still friendly. It felt like a real person, right? Like she was a little bit annoying, but not so much that you're like annoyed with her. That made sense. Yeah. You get what I'm saying though. She wasn't grating. She just felt like she really felt like someone who had been isolated from the world and had been a fan of Citizen Z's broadcast all this time, and their interactions together were perfect. DJ Koalas nails. It's great to see him in a scene with somebody else, like anybody else in the frame besides the pup. And dang, nabbit is that guy scary skinny. I mean, I know I'm overweight. I get that. I know everybody's going to look like me, but that guy is skin and bones. Holy crap. We got to see a lot of that skin and a good number of those bones in this episode. And then at the end of the episode, we get the follow up with the man, which I thought, as much as I didn't like the opening episode, if you're going to do that, then yeah, by all means, definitely use that character, because he's got the list and it's got one name on it. So it's not really very much of a list, but it's Murphy, and he's going to have some difficult times tracking him down. So this is, I mean, for me, this puts the series back on track in a big way. I can't think of anything to complain about here, for real. I mean, even the special effects, right? I was watching thinking there's got to be some like really crappy special effects, right? I'm surely there's something that's cheesy, because that's what we get used to, right? It's the Asylum, it's Z Nation. We know they have the lower budget. The effects were on point here. I can't think of a single thing I complained about where I was like, wow, that looked bad. And there's some stuff in seasons 1 and 2 that look bad. And here I didn't feel like I had to make excuses or sort of write, a note off, like, well, it's Z Nation, so it's okay. Like, even the giant ball of zombies, which also was interesting plot point, the idea that the zombies can become hungry, like that they're not just, endless killing machines, that they can run out of energy, and eventually now they're eating themselves, and that just, again, that giant ball just rolling around in the forest, such a great idea. Everything I was on point here. The actors were great. I didn't feel like there was any like sort of really lame-o performances. If you didn't like the Eskimo girl, I could see criticizing that, but I thought she was amazing. So overall, this is technically the third episode, kind of sort of the second episode, and in a way, the first episode of this season of Z Nation. And I'm going to play it like it's a first episode in my mind, and it rules. It has me so excited for the rest of the season. I suspect there will be some ups and downs in how I feel about some of the episodes coming and going, but this, for me, got us back on point in a big way. Really, really happy with what they did here. Hope that they keep doing this. Hope that they keep pulling those threads, and Sci-Fi keeps letting them do what they're doing. Please, 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 Z Nation, get the ratings you need to continue for as many seasons as you need to go to finish the story up. I've heard Craig Engler say they had 5 seasons that they wanted to do, so we're around halfway through. That would be great if we could just get those 5 seasons. Please, Sci-Fi, please, viewers, I'm begging you, keep watching this show, because it keeps getting better and more awesome. Oh, it's poor 10K. Oh, anyway, that's it for this week, you guys. Like and subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more like it. I'll be doing these every week for the remainder of the season, and I will see you guys next time with another Z Nation recap.